We are Muskegon County at Work, spotlighting workers of local governments throughout our county, revealing what it takes to make our communities comfortable and safe. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Muskegon County Municipalities at Work. Your host here, DJ Hilson, for yet another episode of getting a chance to dive deeper into how government works. In this particular instance, how municipal government works at the top level. I'm pleased to have as my guest today Tom Lohman, who is the current mayor of the city of Montague. Welcome.
Thank you.
What I always like to do, Tom, is I always like to have my guests sort of speak about themselves, a little bio, if you will, on where you come from, how you got to where you are today.
So governmentally, I grew up west of Rothbury in Clay Banks Township. I think my dad was the treasurer for a long time, and I don't know if that was part of it that got me involved with the government, but became part of the trustee in Clay Banks Township. After moving to Montague, we had a prison ministry for a while, which didn't allow me to attend council meetings, but then as that changed to a different day, I became part of the council, been on the council for 10 years, been the mayor. This is my fourth 2-year term.
So it sounds like you have some family history, if you will, in municipal government. Talk to me a little bit about what you saw growing up with your father being a part of a treasurer, as you said, and whether or not that played any part in influencing you to kind of carry on the tradition.
I don't know if it had a big influence, but I remember him being the treasurer. You always get the mail so you'd have to go through and keep all your books. A lot of people come to the house, pay their bills in cash or in check, and then you have to take it all and balance everything at the end of the tax season. And I believe that probably did have an influence.
So what about, I guess, what sort of, outside of your father and his tenure working on a city council, what was it that drew you to be a part of the Montague City Council?
I think, again, part of being in Clay Banks, and as the position opened up, I put my name in. I was not elected, but one of the people that was elected decided he was going to live in Florida for a while. And so I was the next one, and they filled the position with my name.
And as you were, I guess, as you were serving as a city council person, what about that in particular, and how it served the city of Montague? What about that was sort of the level of satisfaction for you?
Well, I think there was a lot of good things that were happening on the city council, and it was a good training the 10 years I was there, having a couple different mayors to work under, and a city manager that I could ask a lot of questions of, and actually ask whether I even wanted to be the mayor, what kind of positions or what kind of job it is. As you know, in city of Montague, city of Whitehall, the mayor is more a position, I don't want to say that doesn't do any work, but the city manager does most of the work in the city. And then I have to run some meetings and attend other meetings, a lot of reading to it.
So, obviously, I'll say this: going from council to becoming the CEO, if you will, the mayor, is a big step, even in smaller cities like Montague. What exactly was the driving force behind you deciding, you know what, I'd like to fill this role for these particular reasons?
I think it was a position, or looking at all the things that were involved, knowing that I could handle the job. And I'm trying not to toot my own horn here, but I think there's a lot of calmness that you need as a mayor. If you have several people that are, 2 or 3 of them that are going one way with their comments and 2 or 3 the other, just trying to keep the meeting smooth and keep everybody happy at the end of the meeting.
So I know you mentioned, and I don't want you to sell yourself short on this, that the mayor doesn't do anything, because I find that hard to believe. I find that hard to believe. Could you describe for our viewers what a typical day or week is leading the city, if you will, of Montague?
Sure. And again, I shouldn't say we don't do anything. The main day-to-day work is done by the city manager. Preparing my work as far as that is preparing all the, not the agenda, but going through and making sure that I understand everything that's in the agenda. It's not unusual for us when we get a packet for a city council meeting to have 100, 150 pages to read through and make sure that we understand if we have any questions ahead of time to get those answered. And not necessarily contact the rest of the city council, but just be prepared. You have a feel after a while how they're going to vote and what their comments and so on are going to be.
You mentioned earlier in one of your answers moving from the Rothbury area to Montague. What was it about Montague that made you want to move to, I guess, south, if you will?
It was a marriage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, let's not go into there.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah,
a marriage brought you here. Okay.
Yeah.
So now that, obviously you've served in two different capacities for the city. And what is it about Montague that people should know about, that maybe not know, that you're proud of?
Well, I'm going to go back to a survey that we put out a year and a half ago. And a lot of people in Montague wanted to keep going forward, but let it remain a small, quaint little town where people know each other, where people look after each other. Even when we had the windstorm back in June, a lot of people were watching each other, calling each other. Do you still have electricity? Do you need help? Just to help each other out.
So how does this is? I guess this question just came to my mind, and I can appreciate. Hey, we want to keep this idea of this quaint little town in northern Muskegon County, and how do you? I guess as a council and you, how do you maintain sort of that atmosphere, but also promote growth and development at the same time?
Yeah, that's a good question because we're actually doing that right now. We have some land downtown where we're looking at some new buildings or some new opportunities to be there. I think, again, it's the same way around the state or maybe even the country. Housing is a big problem. And even with the new buildings, what we're looking at is some businesses to come in and to even have apartments above or below that so there'd be some more housing.
Well, yeah, you mentioned housing, and certainly I'm sure, as you know, as you've indicated, but, in Muskegon County itself, we're sort of in a housing shortage, and that's all over the place.
Right.
And how, outside of how you just answered the last question I gave you, how can you see Montague being a part of the solution to that housing process?
Again, I think one of the things that has to happen is it has to be almost like starter homes or smaller homes. We have a lot of businesses in Montague and Whitehall, other than Halmet, where it's a bigger paying job, where if you're a waitress or somebody who works as a cook, you're not going to be able to afford a big house or even a big rent. And looking forward to having some of those things, looking for developers to build houses that will be affordable.
Yeah, I think you raise a really important point because, again, in the smaller towns, whether it's Muskegon County or elsewhere, people they like that hometown, small town feel,
yeah.
Right? But maybe they are, a waitress or they work in retail or what have you, but still want to live in the same places where, they work. And so it sounds like one of the things that Montague is either in the process of or is looking at is trying to find ways to find affordable housing for those folks.
Sure. There's some things that are in the process of, I'm going to call it bigger houses, but hopefully some of the current people might move into that and open that up. I think one of the other things that's happening again is it needs to be affordable. And even people who live in Montague, work in Montague, if they have to live in Muskegon just to get affordable houses, then the travel doesn't make sense. I think one of the other things that's happened in the last few years is the internet has changed a whole lot. A lot more people are able to work from home, even living out in the country. If you have faster internet, you can work from home for big companies.
Yeah, I mean, so obviously, again, I think what some folks watching this should take away from this is that, even though our smaller areas, our smaller towns want to keep that small town feel, they're still trying to offer, I'll say, big city amenities.
Sure, yeah.
Is that safe to say?
Yeah, that's good, yeah.
So talk to me about, since you've been in Montague for a while, what's one of your favorite things, whether it be a festival or other thing that happens in the city?
I would say without a lot of thought, I think it's just the community working together, knowing your neighbors, and if they need help, if your power's out, helping them, or just getting to know each other and helping them.
Well, it makes things a lot easier, right?
Yes, it sure does.
And again, what I'm curious to the other part of this that I always find fascinating, and what I really appreciate about at least my experience in Muskegon County in general is the collaborative spirit, the level of cooperation amongst all different municipalities.
Yeah.
Can you just talk a little bit about what your experience has been?
Well, Montague and Whitehall have done a lot of things together. Mutual aid to each other for police, for fire departments, the ambulance. The current Solid Waste Commission is made up of 6 different, I'm going to call it municipalities. Some of them are cities, some of them are townships, and all working together so that keep the costs down.
Yeah, so, I mean, is it safe to say then that, again, it as you've described sort of this neighborly feel amongst the residents, it almost at least appears to me that you have this neighborly feel amongst the other leaders of these municipalities.
Yes, we do, yeah. We work together. We have, even with Muskegon County, the mayors and the managers get together every couple months and just talk about problems and any kind of solutions or anything that's new that's going on.
That's fantastic. So, let's talk. I'd like to hear from you. What have been some of the challenges that you've faced as mayor?
I'm glad you asked that question because I was thinking the same kind of way. Probably one of the big challenges we have is anything going forward has to meet all the government rules, and which means it's going to take time. And it may not be the best, and probably best isn't the right word. It may not satisfy everybody's needs. If I cut a tree down in my backyard and the neighbor wants that tree forever, I'm just making this up, but there's some government things that has to happen and follow the rules of the city, follow the planning commission, follow all those things. And I don't think everybody understands the big process.
Well, yeah, and again, I think this is one of the reasons why we've done this sort of series of talking to different people, because again, I do think sometimes people don't quite understand that there is a process, whether it be, I need a variance, or I want to do this, but it's outside the ordinance, but there's a process to essentially try to at least apply for that particular change, and certainly, again, your experience in kind of overseeing all the different municipal levels of government in Montague, if you could describe their level of ability to work with the community.
Okay. I want to go back to the last question.
Yeah.
Because we even live like on a Dowling Street, and it's a state-funded road, which means you can't stop the semis from coming down our road, even though everybody would like to. So as far as your question, I think everybody just working together, we have, maybe that's another kind of concern that we have. It's almost like it's hard to get volunteers anymore, and it's maybe even getting worse. But we have all of our positions except one filled. and all of them get together, and we may not all agree with all our questions, but at the end of the day, we can all just go home and still say thank you for being here.
Well, and certainly the level of service, again, as we look at Montague being a smaller city, that doesn't necessarily mean that the level of service that the residents are getting or expecting is of the same level, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I think everybody wants good police service. They want good garbage service. They want electricity. They want it to stay on, and water and everything else. They want it all there. But they, again, realize that all these things take money, and they take time to be repaired if they have to, and everybody working together.
I'm sure there's not a pot of gold for the city of Montague, even though you probably would want one. What's it like, analyzing and managing the budget for a city the size of Montague?
One of the city manager's strengths is he likes to work with numbers. And every spring he'll get together with the different committees or the different groups that are in the city, work out the budget, sit down with the council, which of these priorities ought to be this year, maybe move to next year. And we pretty much have by the time we get to June, there's not a lot of changing of the budget. It's pretty much, here it is, you've talked about it, let's approve it.
Well, and I think it's important for people to understand, too, again, no municipality is made of money. Money isn't growing on trees, but it's clear that there's a lot of conversation in the city of Montague about priorities and which priority needs the funding now versus can we wait 2 years?
Yes. Even our zoning permit or zoning booklets or ordinance and the planning commission and everything else has to go through the process of revising every few years and looking at it and setting priorities.
Well, I'm sure you're like a lot of municipalities where there's always strategic planning, right?
Yeah.
And does Montague do that whether it's 3 or 5 years from either rec plans or just plans for the city in general, kind of do some forward thinking? Yes,
we do. And again, there's state mandates how often you got to do it, whether 3 years or 5 years. And it's a big challenge to sit down and get all the people together and read through 150 pages and change it and update it and put your future in there. But we've been pretty good at it.
Well, that's great to hear. That's great to hear. So, how do citizens have the ability to know what their government is doing? I'm talking about citizens of Montague. How can they participate? What advice would you have for them?
I would say probably the first thing is we have a pretty good website with all our meeting agendas and all the minutes and everything put up there. Probably even the budgets and the other ordinances are put up there for people to use. As far as participation, we have a good group of people that come to the city council meetings, not necessarily to raise problems, but to voice their opinions. And because of the structure and everything of the council, structure of everybody, they're pretty much welcomed, and all their comments, whether it's negative or positive, are welcome in there. We also have a city manager that's willing to sit down with anybody who wants to come in and talk to them. We have a good group that's working in the council and in the staff.
Well, I think what's important and what you've highlighted is that residents, in particular residents of the city of Montague, don't necessarily have to sit idly by. They have a voice,
yeah.
Right? And I think it's really important that people overall recognize that city government is there for you. And the more informed and active you are, I think the better citizen you become of that particular city.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anybody on the city council who wouldn't welcome any citizen to come in and talk to them, whether it be positive or negative. I think everybody on there has a pretty good attitude.
How would you describe your working relationship with the commission?
The city commission?
Yeah.
I would say probably it would be someone who is patient, someone who can accept all of the attitudes, or not attitudes, but all of the comments, whether it be positive or negative, and then come to a conclusion that would be best for the city.
Do you find that in your tenure now, I mean, this is, you said, your fourth term, right? So
yes.
you've served almost 8 years as mayor. If I got the math right, there's always a question to that.
Yeah.
Almost 8 years as mayor. Has your city commission stayed relatively the same? Has there been changes amongst that group? How would you describe that?
From if we go back 8 years, we've probably had about half of them that have turned over and decided not to run again. But again, it's been filled with good people who are, I think each of the people on the city council bring something different, a different kind of outlook, a different kind of background, in which it all works together and fits together. And I think maybe that's another one of a thing that helps me, is knowing that they're from different backgrounds, understanding maybe where they're coming from with their comments, and seeing that we don't have to get angry with each other. We can share comments, and we can go home happy.
You mentioned earlier about Howmet.
Yeah.
And obviously Howmet is one of the larger employers here in the county.
Correct.
Happens to be in your backyard. How has that relationship been between that large corporation and city government?
I don't know that we have a lot in the city of Montague that actually deals with Howmet. That's more city of Whitehall. But we have a lot of people that work there. And if you look at Howmet, it's probably how you go to work, what your attitude is. If you're going to go in there with a negative attitude, you're not going to be happy. If you're going with a positive attitude, you'll make even a bad job good job. And Howmet, probably one of the top paying places in town, or in the area, in Muskegon County even, and they've put a lot of food on a lot of people's plates.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to have certainly that resource, like I said, in your backyard. So I can't let you leave without, there's this bridge that separates Whitehall and Montague, and I always envision a friendly little rivalry maybe between the two cities. I mean, you are literally half a mile apart essentially. What has been the relationship that you've experienced with that city government and Montague?
Maybe it's not a bridge that divides, it's a bridge that connects. And again, all of the firemen and the police and everything, mutual aid, even attending each other's city council meetings, or a lot of stuff that goes on, I'm going to call it like festivals and fireworks and everything else. Not everything is going through the chamber, but a chamber arranges a lot of stuff, and they do things for both cities to move them forward.
Well, it is nice to see. I've personally visited both cities many times, and it's been nothing but friendly people. I think some of my fondest memories, you guys have, I think, one of the largest 4th of July parades that I've ever seen. And so, as it relates to festivals, talk to me a little bit about that. What are some of the things that people could expect to see and experience in the city of Montague?
So we just got done with cruising. If you go back a few years, there were some problems with cruising, and the cities were pretty much running the cruising. And because of that, there were some problems. Last year, we did not have a parade, and it was only I'm call it a stagnant parade sitting in Montague, and people were not happy with that. So a new group took that over, and everything seemed to go good this year. Other than cruising, of course, you have the 4th of July parade, you have the 4th of July fireworks, you have the punk and roll, which is down the big hill in Montague, and other things like that, where Montague and Whitehall, again, under the direction of the chamber, whether it's the art fair or any of these other things, there's good things going on.
Well, and certainly if anybody's watching this and hasn't visited the city of Montague, and in some respects you can't get to Montague. Well, I guess you can get to Montague without getting to Whitehall, but if you take the main drag, you're going to go through both.
Sure.
Certainly there are some things that they need to experience and see. What's your favorite? I won't say event, but your favorite thing in Montague that people should see?
I would guess probably. We don't have a lot of retail stores, but just going in and talking to them. For instance, Lipka's, they serve lunch, and they don't do anything else with supper, but soups and sandwiches there will rival any of the other restaurants. The Book Nook obviously is there with a lot of different things going on, even the chamber music that's going on now, and the breweries that are there, all those things all kind of work together to make it a small little town.
And I can't let you go without, you got the Montague bandshell.
And the bandshell.
And that is not just a structure. It's used. Can you describe that for us?
During the summer, the chamber puts on music every Tuesday, I believe, during the summer. And they bring in different things. I believe the one that we just had was called the Magic Bus, and that seems to be a big draw. People park all over, any place you can find a place to park and to go to that.
Well, it's got to bring a smile to your face when you see, certainly residents, but visitors fill the area, especially for something like that. And people are just enjoying what you get to experience every day.
When you said that, it reminded me of what I saw even coming down here today. I had to mail a letter at the post office, and there was hardly any parking spots in town at all. Vibrant. I don't know where they all are, but they're busy.
That's awesome.
Yes.
That's fantastic.
Yes.
Well, Mayor Lohman, thank you so much for joining me today. Again, I think, people, when they think of Muskegon County, they think of the downtown area of Muskegon, but there are so many other areas in this great county that offer a variety of different experiences, and I appreciate you talking to us about Montague today.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for the time, and thank you for your questions.
You're welcome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that wraps up another episode of Muskegon Municipalities at Work. Certainly, I hope that you are seeing sort of the variations that we're offering in this series. And I think it's really important that people understand that no matter the size of the town, there's always a unit of government at work, making sure that its citizens are getting the services that it deserves. As always, appreciate the support, and this project does not happen without the ingenuity of one Mike Vogus.